Okay guys, what I want to do in the next couple of minutes is give you some ideas on how to do our first sort of minor assignment in C#. The problem we're going to do is right here. We're going to write a program which is going to prompt the user to enter the age and height of teenage boys between 13 and 18. And then it's going to work out the average in each category. So you might have 7 or 8 13-year-old boys. It'll work out the average of their heights. And then it'll be 14-year-olds all the way to 18. You should incorporate some dummy proofing. You shouldn't have a person type in like a negative for the height, and it should use those custom-made input boxes that only accept numbers when there's supposed to be numbers in them. Okay, now I emailed you the actual problem, but just the executable. So when you unzipped it and you double click on the executable, this should pop up, and this is basically what I want the program to look like. And you're going to have like a text box there. And when you press this, it's first of all going to say, do you have any more entries? And this is the first time, so obviously I'm going to say, yes, I have some. This is the homemade input box that's going to pop up. So you're going to type in, for instance, a 14-year-old. Okay, going to type a height. I'm just going to just make up a number for now. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. I'm going to press OK. Any more entries? Yes. Let's type in another 14-year-old. And different height, obviously, and press OK. Have any more entries? Yes, we'll do one more. We'll type in a 15-year-old and make up a number, and we'll press OK, and then we'll say, do you have any more entries? No. And obviously I didn't do all the categories, so the 13-year-olds had nobody, the 16s, 17s, and 18s didn't have anybody, and then the averages for the other two were in front of you like that. Okay, so that's the kind of program I want to develop. And hopefully over the last couple of days you've started to get ideas of how to make your homemade input box, how to do repetition, how to do this thing we're going to do today called counting and accumulating, because that's how you have to average out people's heights or marks or whatever else. Okay, what I want to do now is use some old examples and some new ones to help us understand how we're going to do this question. And the first example I'm going to load up is one we did a day or two before. It's called user controlled repetition, and this one has a couple of ideas that you're going to use in this assignment. First of all, if you don't remember how it works, basically you pressed it and you asked, do you want to continue? Now we're going to use a slightly different basic setup as this. What we're going to do is use that homemade input box, but it's the same basic technique. Okay, so we're going to say, yes, I want to continue. We're going to type in a mark. Do you wish to continue? Yes. Type in another mark. So what this is doing is the same kind of thing that's going to happen in your assignment. You're going to ask for numbers, and you're going to figure out how many numbers you've got, and then you're going to average them out. Now you're going to do it for 13s all the way to 18, so you're going to have like not just one counter and one accumulator, but a whole bunch of them. But it's the same kind of idea as this. So this is the first thing I want you to pick up from this program. And I'm going to say no this time, and it's going to work out the average. Okay, let's look at the code again, just if you forgot what it did. All right, so when you do averaging type programs, you need counters, or counter. In this one, we only needed one counter, and one accumulator, and one average. In your assignment, you're going to have a counter for the 13s, the 14s, the 15s, the 16s, the 17s, and the 18s. You're going to have a totaler for each one of those, and you're going to have 5 or 6 different averages for each person. Okay, other things in this program, you're obviously going to have a loop that goes on forever until the person says, no, I don't want to do it again. Okay, you're going to do a little bit of dummy proofing, and then here is the most important part. You're going to do something where you have to count, hey, that's one person, that's 2, that's 3. And the reason you do that is because you're going to add up a number of people and divide by those people to get the average. Just like if you were going to do your marks, if you had 7 marks, the counter would be 7, and then your marks hopefully would be like in the hundreds. You divide it by 7 and you get your average. Last thing I want to point out in this first example is this thing down here. You're going to use that in the program you're going to do, because what happens if you run the program and right off the bat you don't have a 14-year-old? Okay, or in this case, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to press calculate, and I'm going to say, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And you go, sir, you didn't even type in any marks. Right, and that's what it should do, or it should say the average is 0, because if you don't check for 0. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to rub that out. I'm going to rub that out. Okay, I'm going to rub out this statement, and I'm just going to blindly work out the average. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to say no, I don't have any marks right off the bat. So the counter is going to be 0. So when it does this line with nobody in there, it's going to try to divide by 0. Watch what happens when that occurs. I think I'm going to end up crashing the program. I'm going to say no. The average is nana. What the heck is that? Is that a song? That's an error. Okay, it tried to divide this by 0 and it came up with some weird answer. Okay, so those are a couple of ideas that you should come away from in this example. Print it out and have it ready to go when you do your assignment. Okay, the next program I thought we'd look at to help you get into the right frame of mind for this assignment is this one called even odd. We haven't done this one before, I don't think. Let's load it up. Okay, and what this one's going to help us review is how to do your homemade input boxes. Okay, so it's got a couple neat features. So I'm going to press this button. So the first thing you're going to see is a homemade input box. All right, a little bit different than the last example. And I'm just going to type in a number, 78. When I press OK, it says whether it's even or odd. That's going to be pretty easy to work out. But second thing is it doesn't have an input box at all in this example. So this uses that message box thing, right? And you can say, do you want to do another? If I say yes, lets me type in another number. This one's going to come back odd. Do you want to do it again? No, and I'm done. Okay, so let's review with this part of the example how to do these homemade input boxes. So what you do, first of all, is obviously you have your main screen, nothing special there. Then you right click here and you go add new item, okay, and you pick a new Windows form. Now when you do that, you can call it anything you want. I decided to call it input box. And let's double click on the input box and there it is. Okay, so you make it, okay, and then there's a couple things special that you have to do to these guys. So first of all, that one right there, you have to set one of the properties. Okay, so there's this thing called dialog result. You have to set it to OK. All right, the cancel one, you have to set the dialog result obviously to cancel. When you click on the whole form, there's this thing you have to do called accept. All right, so let's work our way down. Accept button. You could have put that to OK, and cancel. We'll go down. Cancel button. You set that one to cancel. Now you're basically ready to go with this. Now you've got to go into the underground. So let's press F7. In the underground, you're going to write as many public things as you need. So in this one, all I was asking for was one thing. So all I had was input value. You're going to do two things in your assignment. You're going to have the person's height and his age. Okay? And don't worry about this part. You don't need that. Okay? But this part right here that says get, all right, that's going to have the computer come back with whatever's typed into this box, which we called text input, right? So what this does is remember and bring it back to the other form. This is how you do the dummy proofing of the numbers, okay? So watch what happens when you do that. You don't double click on this when you do this. You press this once, you go over to the lightning bolt, and you go to the thing called text key press right here, okay? And this is where you type this in. You can basically copy this word for word. Just copy and paste it into your program. And what that'll do, and I'll show you, is it'll make it so that all right, so when I press letters, and I'm pressing them right now, nothing shows up. It will not accept letters. I have to press numbers, and then it works out the average, or the number, okay? And then if I say, no, I don't want to do it again, it stops. Now, let's take a look at how in that form you make all that stuff pop up. So what you got to remember here is, first of all, this is how you make an instance of this new form called the input box. You can call it whatever you want, obviously. This is any word that you want. We're going to use this, so remember what the person pressed. Okay, and then we do our loop. Now this one I used a do while, just to do something different, okay? It's like a while true, same kind of idea, but except the testing happens at the very bottom. All right, so then basically what happens is we start off and we make that little homemade box show up, right? Now while it's up there, you're typing away. When you press OK, we go, hey, did the guy actually press OK? Because if he did, I'm going to take the value he typed in, I'm going to take the quotes off of it, and then I'm going to work out whether you could divide it by 2. If you did, it's even or it's odd. Okay? Then I do a little message box to say whether it's even or odd, and then I do the other kind of message box where you ask the person, hey, do you want to do this anymore, yes or no? And remember, this word result, okay, is a dialogue. So then what you do is you basically check if the result the person typed in was a yes. Okay, if it was, you keep going. So you do this while the result equals yes. Okay, so that's the second stage. And now for the big hints to finish up. How do you actually do this assignment? Okay, we'll finish off with a couple last hints. Okay, and now the last part of my lesson, the part you really want to pay attention to, some good hints to help you with this assignment. So obviously you make your screen up, you make your text box, you make your second form, and that's where I'm going to go right now. You set up all your properties like I showed you in some other previous examples within this video. You've got to make 2 text boxes. This one I decided to call text age, and this one I decided to call text height. Okay, let's go into the underground. I'm not going to give away any major secrets here, but what you're going to have to do now is you're going to ask for 2 pieces of information that have to go back to the other form. You're going to ask for the age, and even though it's a number, you're always going to come back with a string. That's the way you do good dummy proofing. And same with the height. You're always going to come back with a number. And here down here is basically what I copy. All right, so remember how you do this part. Okay, you click once, you press the lightning bolt, you go to key press. Okay, you double click on key press, takes you into the underground. And you can basically copy and paste those commands I showed you from before. The little extra I added here was, what if you wanted to press the backspace key? That's how you do the backspace key if you want to do that too. Okay? So that's basically all that's on that form. Now the real big secrets. Let's go back to the main form and show you a couple of those ideas to wrap it up. So on this form, okay, let's take a look at what I've got at the very top. I'm not going to give away the whole thing, but you're going to see quite a bit of it. You're going to be looking for answers from the person, like did they press OK, did they press cancel? So you need that dialog result. You need this. This is how you are going to make that other form pop up. Now this doesn't actually make it pop up, it just gets it ready to pop up. Now here's that other stuff I was mentioning before. To work out people's averages, you're going to need counters, right? So when you're figuring out the averages for, let's say, the 13-year-olds, the guy says, okay, you're 13, okay, that's one of you guys. Okay, you're 14, okay, there's one of those 14-year-olds. Oh, what are you, 13? Go back to 13-year-olds. So you need counters for separate people. You also are going to add up their totals. Like when they say that I'm 45 centimeters or 120 centimeters or whatever, they have to be added up. Those are called accumulators. And then obviously you have to work out the averages. Now all those should be, if you do it properly, set to 0. All right, now a little bit away, I'm going to give you a little bit more. All right, so right off the bat, and I actually have that fancy way, do you have any more entries to make? All right, so that's how you do it. And if the dialog result is no, you get out of your loop. Otherwise, and if you don't like what you see there, I'm going to show you a little bit different. Now I went away for a second because I wanted to type something. If you don't like this line, which is kind of like the cool short way to do it, you can still do it in 2 separate lines. You make the input box show up and then store the result in R, and if they pressed OK, then you continue on with the rest of your program. So lots of little dummy proofing you have to work from. When you come back from that other screen, you got to make sure that they didn't type in nothing. Got to make sure they didn't type in nothing for the age or the height. Got to make sure that they didn't type in something stupid like I'm 85 years old. Got to make sure they didn't type in something stupid like I'm negative 15 inches high. And then the rest of the program, you basically go through a pile of these. Hey, are you 13? That if you are, count the 13-year-olds and add up the 13-year-olds, their totals. Hey, are you 14? And you keep doing that over and over and over again. And then at the very end of this loop, you are going to work with the averages, but that's as far as I'm going to give you for hints. Okay, so there's a lot of different ideas there. Then at the very end, you work out the averages and you worry about not having somebody. So if it doesn't equal 0, then you work it out. Otherwise, you can't work out the average.